everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lisa and you're watching Growing on Vancouver Island. For today's video, we are going to do some apple picking. Behind me is one of my two 5 variety apple trees, and we're probably going to pick either all of the apples or most of them because a few of them have already been on the tree too long and are starting to be not so good. So we're probably going to most likely pick all of them, and then at the end of the video I'm going to do a little apple sacrifice, so you're going to want to stay tuned to the end to see what the sacrifice is all about. So to start, I'll just start picking the apples and I'll show you what they look like as we go. So here's the first apple that I picked, and it actually looks pretty good. It's on the smaller side, but there's actually no insect damage or worm damage or anything like that. It looks like a pretty healthy looking apple, which is awesome. I don't use any chemicals or sprays of any kind on my fruit trees, so it's 100% organic. I use only organic fertilizers, so when you do organic gardening, you're bound to get some pests, regardless of how good of an organic gardener you are. It just kind of goes with the whole organic gardening thing. So I definitely do have some pest damage on some apples, but this particular apple is perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. Here is a prime example of an apple that has fair bit of insect damage, and this apple I will be putting in my compost bin. I will try to get a close-up for you. I don't know if you can see right. Is the camera gonna focus? Here there is quite a bit of damage to this apple, so we will not be eating this. There's also a hole on the other side, but if you don't see, I don't know if you can see, there's an ant crawling on it. This is not a good apple, definitely for the compost bin, but I'm sure there will be many more good ones on this tree. So let's keep going. Is that right? No, 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 no. We do not do things like that. My supervisor, I see, has decided to join us for this little apple picking session. He has to get in on all of the action in the garden. He never wants to be letting me do my job unsupervised. And we have another insect damaged apple. There are lots of ants on this one. I don't know if you can see, we have another apple that is quite damaged by insects. Lots of ants on it, so another one for the compost bin. This particular variety, most of it seems to be less on the good side of the spectrum. I think it's more susceptible to insect damage than other varieties on the tree, which I will show you shortly. And this apple has no insect damage, but is actually it's a little bit soft already. I think I might try to eat it, but the texture is probably not going to be as good as the good quality apples. So here is an absolutely pristine apple. I forget what this one is called. I want to say maybe, I don't think it's Golden Delicious. I have the actual tag for the tree somewhere in my house, but I definitely didn't memorize all the varieties. But it's an absolutely pristine apple. There is not a blemish on this apple. No insect damage. It is perfect and it's going to be delicious. So my green ones seem to be a lot less susceptible to insects and pests than the red and greenish colored ones. I think it's just the variety. I think the skin is a little tougher on the green ones, and the skin on the reddish yellowy green ones is more soft. So that's probably the reason that they're more susceptible, I would assume. another beautiful apple. And the first green one that actually has a pest damage, which is interesting because I've picked quite a few already and there's been no pest damage, but this one definitely has some damage, so it will be in the compost bin. And here we have an earwig that is trying to get into this apple. And I don't think it actually got in yet, so we are going to save it. This apple has apple scab, most of them do not, and a little bit of insect damage. I think I'm going to compost it. So this is the haul so far. We've picked, I'm gonna say maybe half the tree, maybe not half the tree. We've picked a bit of the apple tree, but we still have a long ways to go. It's not a basket, it's sort of a bowl, but it'll work. I don't have any more baskets, but let's keep picking. And here's another different variety on the tree. Quite prolific, whatever this variety is. Hopefully not too much insect damage on this variety, but we'll find out. So far so good. These apples are looking pretty gorgeous. There's no blemishes that I can see on all the ones I've picked so far. So here is today's apple harvest. We've got quite a bit of apples in these two containers. I just decided to stop picking, even though I'll show you what the tree looks like as of right now, what's left in the tree, because there's still quite a bit in the tree. These are all the ones that will be going in our compost bin, and let me give you a little look at what's left in the tree after I've picked this many. And I just want to say that this is not a good year for almost anything in the garden, including apples. They were hit really hard by a hard frost. So the fact that we have this many is actually pretty impressive. I'm quite happy with this harvest, but let me show you what's left. And this little man has a little something to say about somebody walking down the street. Zipper. Mind your manners, sir. You want a piece of the action too? This little man has decided to check on my apple harvest, and I'm not sure what his final thoughts are, if he thinks this is a good harvest or if he thinks we could have done a little better. I'm pretty sure he's going to be investigating the collection of apples afterwards, as they are round objects similar to balls, and he does like balls. So we will see what he does later. So here is a look at the tree after I picked those 2 containers worth of apples. There's still quite a few apples going into the tree. Lots of the green ones still all over this section of the tree, and a few red ones still left in the tree. I may come out here in a couple days and do some more picking. In fact, I probably will. But 2 big baskets and bowls of apples is quite enough for right now. That'll take us a while to eat those. So For now, I'm gonna leave these on the tree, but they probably won't be here too much longer. So now let's do our little apple sacrifice. So here we have my second 5 variety apple tree, and there are apples on this tree, but let me tell you, the apples and the tree itself are really not healthy. This tree was hit super hard by the late frost that we had. Let's take a little look. So here is what the apples look like. They actually are hard. They're not soft or rotten or anything, but they look terrible. And I would say there's tons, but there definitely are quite a few on the tree. Not as many as the other tree, but some. And we are not even going to attempt to save these apples. I am going to start cutting up the tree and taking the apples with them, because this poor tree, it needs to rebound, and I hope it's going to rebound before the fall really hits. I'm going to give this tree a good amount of fertilizer, not today, but very soon, and hopefully it does a big rebound before it goes into dormancy later in the fall. So let's cut up this tree and make a little sacrifice to the apple gods. We've got my trusty clippers, and we are going to give this tree a bit of a pruning and get rid of all those old yucky looking apples. Ooh, this tree branch is not coming off very easily. 2 hands is not enough. Oh, there we go. So that was a pretty good chunk of tree we got off, and just 1 apple on that one, I think, maybe 2. But that's a good start. That's a good start to our rejuvenation of this tree. And take off another good chunk of tree here. I'm going to remove another good chunk of tree in this area. Ooh, that one came off really well. It's very satisfying when you make a good cut with the clippers. My little supervisor has found something to get into. I'm not even sure what he found. Something odd looking. And I thought it was an apple, but I think it's whatever's beside the apple that he's going for. I have no idea what that is. I hope it's something edible. Upon further examination, this is an old rawhide bone. I forgot that he used to, over the years, he's been hiding his rawhide bones, like digging them into the ground. I think he sees me digging in the garden and he wants to dig and plant things as well. So he plants his bones all the time. And I think this is remnants of a bone that he just dug up. I didn't see him dig, but he's a little sneaky sometimes. He's got quite the little grin on his face, so I think he's happy with his work. So here is the results of my pruning, a nice pile of branches. We'll take a little look at the tree. I think it's pretty good. I think we got either all of them or most of them out of the tree. It's going to take a bit of rehabbing to get this tree back to its old healthy self, but I'm up for it, and we will probably do that in an upcoming video. I'm getting eaten by the mosquitoes, so that tells me it's time to go in. So I hope you enjoyed today's apple harvest. That's going to be all for this video. If you love gardening, harvesting, garden tours, fairy gardens, or golden retrievers, you may want to consider subscribing to this channel. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Good night.